North here.
Okay.
Hi, Eileen. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you, Maya. Thanks.
Okay. Yep, just want to make sure. Good.
Yep, good to go.
All right.
Internal, external,
Yes, both are made.
so.
I don't need
So make sure you do that research on that.
Yeah, I didn't even, is it just for employees of the county?
Yeah, so,
Or
no, it's for everyone. It's for all residents.
Yeah, it's in case he gets lost in that case. That's just like that's when you sign
Tim Philbin.
Cheese go to the beach. Is that what you were down Delaware? That's what you had on Delaware. It was very, that's all you have to do. It was very They wanted to know the conversation between an internal person and an external person involving.
Oh, he does.
Before you tee off on the phone,
Yeah. There's that
oh,
pole.
yeah,
Yeah.
the biggest fish got
It was communication specific.
So before you tee off, you refer.
Yeah.
Specified period.
When you go back.
It was not a specified matter, it was all encompassing. We sound like big, we sound like.
See what he said. See what he said. Trying to make sure that another child line. Granted, you're giving it the
So you're concerned.
We have a joint on the phone today?
Yeah, with Maya and Jason.
You there?
Yep.
Okay. You ready, Commissioner? Okay. I ask you to please rise for the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you are our refuge in times of trouble. You are a protector and comforter. Our world is in need of your hope and love. You are always with us through the storms of life. When the sky is at its darkness, you are the light in every way that overcomes all. We pray for strength and protection for our law enforcement, medical workers, and each family in our community. We pray for our military and recognize the 73rd birthday this past Thursday of our men and women of the Air Force. May your hand protect each one of them and all of our military. Meet the needs of their loved ones as they too feel the sacrifice of service by these heroes. Father, our military protects our freedoms, and we thank you for the founding fathers who over 2 centuries ago framed the Constitution. On that date, September 17, 1787, you granted your wisdom that no branch of government would be imperial as to threaten the God-given freedom of the people. Help us to be good stewards of the government and freedoms you have given us. Now, Lord, we ask you that you grant us the wisdom to perform the business of the county. These things we present to you humbly in Jesus' name. Amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
convene the Commissioners' public meeting at this time. Ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comment on agenda items only at this time. Hearing none, we'll move on to personal actions.
Personnel actions with Roxanne Greco.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Where are you, Roxanne?
At RMS Engineering, James F. Kirschner IV, full-time replacement environmental technician, pay grade 7, $18.08 hourly, effective September 28th, 2020. In the courts, Richard Walker as a part-time replacement tip staff, pay grade 1, $10.08 hourly, effective October 5th, 2020. Also in the courts, MDJ Lepley's office, Kathy A. Delaney, full-time replacement clerk 3, pay grade 4, $13.95 an hour, effective October 19th, 2020. In planning and community development, Eve E. Adrian, full-time replacement or full-time new position, natural resources planner, pay grade 9, salary of $42,179.89, effective September 28th, 2020. And finally, at the prison, Jesse C. Combs II, full-time replacement correctional officer relief, pay grade CO1, $17.23 hourly, effective September 29th, 2020.
Okay, any discussion or questions on these positions? Hearing none, I have a motion to accept.
I move to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to action items. We'll start 3.1, My Attune, vote on emergency purchase resolution. That is 2020-28.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This is an emergency resolution for the purchase of 2 vehicles for JPO and APO. The estimated cost is $88,176. Both of these vehicles will be used for visits to clients to monitor compliance with probation terms. And as a result of COVID-19, which has severely affected JPO and APO, both departments have been required to do more field visits to reduce or eliminate visits to the courthouse. So this is the main reason for these vehicles, because they're necessary to effectively function and supervise their clients.
Okay, so these vehicles we purchased out of COVID monies, and due to COVID, for example, each department, juvenile and adult probation office, is not seeing clients within the buildings, so they're required to see their clients more out in the field. Chief Ed McCoy here, if you'd like to say a word about how many more visits you're seeing per month over the time frame. I believe you quadrupled your home visits.
Since March 13th.
Can you come up back to
You gotta
the,
come up with
speak at the microphone, please?
Yes, Commissioner. Since March 13th, due to the administrative order given by the courts, defendants weren't allowed into the courthouse, so we had to see our defendants in the field. Since March 13th to this date, we are now approaching over 5,000 field contacts.
Okay.
That's obviously up. I think normally it's around 1,600.
Do you think it's helping in terms of keeping folks out of trouble during the COVID?
Absolutely, Commissioner. Myself and my supervision staff, we've talked. We don't think we're going to go back to having people come to the courthouse unless necessary, because we do see a lot of positives for us being out in the community.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a blessing that came unexpectedly. The good news is that this money is, as Maya mentioned, is coming from CARES Act, so it's not coming from our property tax. The reason for the emergency nature of it is that we have to get the vehicle in our possession before December 30th.
Yes, essentially, Commissioner, our vehicles have now become our office.
Yeah.
And, with all the staff that we had and only 4 vehicles, this is a blessing for our office. Unfortunate blessing. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner, you have anything? Okay. I have a motion to accept the resolution number 2020-28.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Thank you.
3.2 Myatune, vote on county department COVID-related purchases.
This is a list of COVID-19 needs which were identified by the county, which are deemed to be grant eligible by the COVID-19 Relief Block Grant. The total estimated cost for all the purchases for the county would be $1,242,165. Again, that's an estimated cost. All purchases would be purchased in accordance with proper procurement laws identified in county code.
So, you know, I misspoke before. It's taxpayer money, it's just coming from the federal government. It's not coming from our local property
General
tax.
fund.
Right. And for this list, it's the same thing. This is coming out of federal money, which we're receiving. And, you know, hats off to all of our staff who have been working diligently to try to make sure we get these things purchased and in hand by December 30th, or else the money goes back. And so this is really excellent. If you look through the list here, you know, it's I mean, it's unfortunate, but there's things that are needed. Drop boxes for the MDJs and internet access, broadband deployment, laptops, coveralls with full face masks for the coroner, because they're going out and dealing with people who may have COVID and so forth.
I mean, without these CARES money, the burden would be back on the local municipalities, and
That's
we'd
right.
have to find ways to fund these.
Yep.
Okay. I have a motion to accept the COVID request.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
3.3 Myatune, recommending award to M&M Asphalt Corporation.
Yes, after reviewing the bids received for the paving project at Executive Plaza, pre-release center in the Livestock View Complex, we are recommending awarding the bid to M&N Asphalt Corporation in the amount of $322,253. M&M was the overall lowest compliant bidder for the project.
Okay, any discussion?
I just want to make mention that paving has been on the list for many years. And we continually put off the paving because of the cost, especially when the gasoline was up in the $3 and $4 a gallon. And as you can see out in our parking lot here now, it's done. Okay, it's getting pretty bad. So we waited for the right time, and it was a very good price. And if we were to put it off one more year, it would deteriorate even further, and the cost would go up. So.
And this includes livestock view and pre-release, and the last thing we want anybody to do is fall in a parking lot and get hurt. So it's time for it to be done. It needs to be done. So we're going to move forward with it.
Maya, was this going to be able to be covered from liquid fuels? I can't remember whether they, John?
I don't believe so. 'Cause I
Okay.
don't think this is a project that would be deemed eligible, but I can double check with John Lavelle.
Yeah, I thought he mentioned something, but yeah, okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
3.4 Myatune, vote on First Amendment to Homeland Security Grant Agreement.
Yes, this is a First Amendment to the county's Homeland Security Grant between PEMA and the North Central Task Force. This amendment specifically adds Columbia, Montour, and Northumberland counties as the new member counties to the task force. And as a result of that, that adjusts the total award from $507,096 to, actually, it takes it from $327,128 to $507,096, sorry, which gives that an increase of $179,968. And these funds, as you know, are used for the planning, organization, and response for the needed exercises to fight terrorism and other catastrophic events within the counties listed.
Okay, thank you, Maya. Any discussion on this action item? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
3.5 Myatune, vote on First Amendment COVID-19 relief block grant.
Yes, this is a First Amendment to the county's COVID-19 relief grant that we have with DCED, which is Department of Community and Economic Development. This amendment outlines the programmatic changes and modifications regarding subrecipient monitoring and subcontracts.
Okay, any discussion on this item? This is the First Amendment to the contract to is all our CARES money, the $10,231,903.
Maya, what was in, the programmatic changes are detailed in Appendix C? Okay.
Just with you'll see it relates specifically to sub-recipient monitoring and
Okay.
contracting. Basically, what the state came back and told us before they actually initiated this in our discussions with them was that they were not going to have to pre-approve our sub-recipient contracts and look over that. So that's essentially what that appendix says. It formalizes it. So this is nothing new that the team wasn't already anticipating.
Maybe you can, for the public's sake, just explain what a subrecipient contract is.
Subrecipient contract is pass-through monies that we can give to outside agencies like nonprofits, small businesses, which are all part of the subrecipient team that would be eligible to receive funding through this grant in addition to the county for which we're going to be receiving. So when we pass through those money, these COVID monies to those entities outside of the county, we're required to have a subrecipient monitoring to properly monitor the expenses of the fund, since we're ultimately responsible as the applicant to the grant.
Wanna look at it? Okay. Not yet, we didn't have a motion yet. Have a motion, any further discussion? Have a motion to accept the First Amendment to contract regarding the COVID money of the $10.2 million.
I'll move to approve the contract.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
I just want to add that there's a lot of work going into this, okay? And CEDACOG is doing a very good job for us. Not without snags, because there's going to be a lot of requests. I also want to thank the Sun Gazette for putting that article in, I think it was last week, where we only had
29 businesses.
29 businesses that applied for the grant. We are up to 179 now. So it would appear that we have more need than what we had allocated, but don't fear, because we think we can increase that amount of allocations.
And like the, we, on the first needs assessment that went out, we saw a lot of requests from nonprofits, some of which was lost revenue, which cannot be given out under the legislation. So we may find, hopefully we can help these businesses. But one of the things we do want to get the word out today is that the municipalities, we had a series of Zoom calls. Each of us was on a different Zoom call yesterday. I was with the nonprofits. Commissioner Metzger was with the municipalities, and Commissioner Masser was with the fire and EMS. And we only had about 2 or 3 municipalities tune into that Zoom call. So they really need to look at the information they're getting from the planning department. If they have questions about what they can get reimbursed for, to contact them. There's a deadline, and we know that they only meet once a month, so we're understanding that maybe they didn't get the information about the call, but they should definitely call in if they have questions. We had about 33 nonprofits, I believe, if I recall. And how many, did we have any fire companies?
11.
Yeah, we had
11 fire companies, okay. So I guess the point is as Commissioner Becerra is saying, is hopefully we can get the word out in the community to these other entities to step up so that the money, because the money will go.
Okay. Next.
Okay. 3.6, Jerry Kennedy for voting on North Point LSI-R software renewal.
Morning, Commissioners. This is the renewal of the LSIR for APO and prison, cost of $11,827.18.
Okay, any questions on this?
Now, it might be helpful to have, I see two folks from APO here, to have somebody explain how, for the general public, what is LSIR and how does it relate to what we do in terms of trying to keep people out of trouble or getting them back on their feet?
Hey, John.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Stahl, Deputy Chief, Adult Probation. So, LSIR, Level Service of Inventory, R stands for, it's the revised version. So it's the second generation of LSI. LSIR provides risk needs assessments for the defendants that come through the criminal justice system, in which the Adult Probation Office supervises. Based on the risk needs assessments, referrals are made for the defendants, appropriately to whether it be to treatment or just exactly how the Adult Probation Office is going to supervise that case, how frequently, and identifies needs of the offender, in which we make referrals throughout the community. Then, so that the commissioners are aware, the Adult Probation Office, the chief and I, are absolutely conscientious about trying to improve processes going forward and how we can be most cost effective in doing that. The licensing here that we're asking for this year is for us to allow us to be able to utilize the software for LSIR. Going forward, we spoke yesterday at the budget hearing about AP and the new software that we're bringing on here in October. One of the benefits of that is the third generation of LSIR, the LSCMI, which is a little more case-specific management, a little more user-friendly for adult probation officers to be able to utilize. That version is built into the software. So the hope is in 2021 that we're going to move towards the next generation and eliminate the licensing renewal for North Point. There'll be some upfront costs to be able to bring over the existing data into the new software. But going forward, the hope is, one, we'll be using third generation assessment tool and eliminating, another software that staff has to also manage. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John.
And when you go back to when we were implementing GO, and it's a long process to develop this standard and the needs, and it's very unique to each county and how you want to run your office. So there's a lot of time required in developing this, and I think you really did a great job.
There absolutely is, Commissioner, and we very much appreciate that. We're conscious, too, of the fact the amount of money that the county has invested into reentry services, the number of people that have gone through that program. If and when we do make the conversion to the third generation, we would like to coordinate that with our vendor and make sure that we're all on the same page, utilizing the same software and the same assessment tool, so that we're all working towards the same goal.
For the public, it's very important to understand that one of the biggest absences we have in terms of economic development in the county is a workforce. So when we have people, and I'm thinking in particular of an individual who came out of state, who I happen to know personally, he came out of state prison, he moved here, he'd been in prison for a number of years. He got a job through a temp agency, first at Brodart, did a great job. ShopVac was hiring, got a great job, worked at ShopVac for several years. He was making about $13.73 an hour, and that's a person who had been incarcerated for a number of years. Got laid off 2 days ago, or last week, and I saw him over the weekend, and he had told me he was going back to the temp agency, and he said, he called me the next day, he said he got picked up by one of the companies to be hired. Why not? He had a great work record. He'd been working for several years for a manufacturing facility. My point is that we need those laborers, and obviously not everybody who gets out of prison makes it the first time or if they get into trouble, but the point is that we waste human resources when we simply lock people up and want to throw away the key. And frankly, in rural Pennsylvania, we need to develop that. So hopefully that's part of what we're doing there, right, through the LSIR. And but there are many positive stories that you don't necessarily hear about of people who are actually contributing to the community. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that up there.
Okay, thank you. A motion to accept the North Point LSIR software.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe you can't hear me with the mask.
No, you can't.
You can't, okay.
Okay, thank you. So carried.
3.7, Jason Yorks is on the line. Vote on the purchase of a new haul truck for RMS.
Morning, Jason.
Good morning, Commissioners. Commissioners, before you for approval is the purchase of a new haul truck from Cleveland Brothers, the amount of $440,813. This is through state contract CoStar's purchasing program. This is also a budgeted item that we put in the budget last year for 2020. We will be trading in 2 haul trucks for this purchase of 1. So we did test the brands. We've tested 3 brands, and this is the truck we would like to go with.
And just so that everyone doesn't have a heart attack in the public when they see this, all is paid for out of revenue that comes from running the landfill from people from other counties, which is actually probably about 70%, or is it 80%, Mr. Yorks?
It's roughly 70%.
So 70% of the revenue that we collect at the landfill comes from other counties, and that's paying for the truck. It's not our taxpayer dollars, but it's helping us because it puts money into our general fund every year.
Correct. Thank you.
Well, they gave us a demonstration over there, and I think Dave Bonus, right?
Yes.
And they showed us what our drivers were experiencing in one of these haul trucks. There was no shocks. Their bodies were literally getting thrown up and down as they're going across the terrain. And to get jammed all day long, it's got to take a toll on your back and your lower back and your whole body. And when they demonstrated that to us, and we saw how the other one, had the shocks and whatnot, see, it was needed, and it's probably been long overdue. So I have no problem.
Yeah, and you raise a good point though, because those injuries that happen at work are either covered by workers' comp, which we pay for, or they're covered by our health care, which we pay for. So it's good that we do things that are not, that are preventing it,
And anyone who knows a trucker who has a trucker in their family, whatever type of trucks they drive, it takes as the commissioner says, an enormous beating on your back, your whole body, but especially your back, and to limit that stress on their bodies, so it doesn't result in health issues later down the line that we're paying for, and so that person can enjoy quality life as they get older. It's much needed.
Commissioners, I'd like to add too, these other haul trucks were part of the situation that we explained with the downtime and the maintenance and repairs with the trucks, and this gets us back into warranty and hopefully much less downtime We did budget $650,000 for this purchase this year, but through the CoStar's purchasing program and the trade-ins, we were able to get it down to $440,000. So I do appreciate all the comments. Our staff does recognize you guys are making a chance that you're getting over and seeing how the operation works. So I thank you for that.
You're very welcome, Jason. I have a motion to accept this action item regarding the new haul truck.
Now move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
And lastly, Jason York's 3.8, vote on change order number 1 with Barton and Logistics for sewage force main pump.
Commissioners, before you for approval is a change order number 1 with Bartlett Juice and R&L for the sewage force main pump project. So this is the project that we showed you where we're installing a 6-inch force main from our facility basically down to the equalization tank that sits in front of the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Allenwood. This is a change order for modification to the pump house. We were planning, expected to do this work ourselves. Unfortunately, due to time, we just had too many other projects we got to get before the winter comes. So we asked to have this project put into the change order because we must have the changes done to the pump house and make it usable for the 6-inch force main. The net increase will be $135,410. That'll make it a total of $935,037. We had budgeted $1.6 million for the whole project, so we're well under what we had budgeted for the project.
Okay. Any discussion? I have a motion to accept the change order.
I move to approve.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Commissioner Metzger, if I may have a second to make a public announcement.
Yes.
Just as a reminder to our public and our staff that this week, September 24th, at the close of business at the transfer station, we will start and commence to have the new compactor installed. The staff for the company Seabright will be in on September 25th, promptly 8 a.m. in the morning, and will be shut down at the transfer station the 25th, the 26th, and most likely the 28th for reopening of September 29th for normal operations at the transfer station. So while it is an inconvenience to our haulers who are normally using the facility, we appreciate their patience because it'll give us a much more reliable machine. Currently the compactor we have is 40 years old and it needs replaced. So just as a public notice to let everyone know the transfer station will be shut down for a couple days this week.
And Jason, your check is in the mail, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir. All right. Have a nice day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Commissioner comment?
I have 3 things I'd like to say. First of all, if you haven't registered for the census, please do so. We're getting near the deadline. It's so vital that our county has an accurate count of how many residents live here. As we stated before, it adds up to about $2,000 per year per resident. Over the course of the census, that's $20,000 per resident of federal funding that we could be receiving over that 10-year period. So it's very, very important that you're counted, and because you're valuable, we need to have you counted in our community. Today is also National Voter Registration Day, and we're fastly approaching. I think it's 44 days to the biggest election of our lives. It's important that your vote counts, so please register to vote, as today is National Voter Registration Day.
When does it close? When does the voter registration close? 30 days prior to the election, I believe.
I'm not sure the exact dates. It's changed.
It's changed.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
maybe
changed.
it's 2 weeks. Okay,
Yeah,
check.
2 weeks,
yeah.
I believe.
Do it as
Yeah.
soon as possible.
Yeah, okay. Yes, just do so as quickly as possible. Be out there. The last thing, unfortunately, yesterday on day 10, Governor Wolf vetoed the bill that the House and Senate had passed regarding school districts, allowing boundaries for parents and fans to watch high school sports. This is an important issue. Government isn't about one person making decisions. I spoke about the Constitution in my prayer. It's equal branches of government. They're to work together, and it's important that they work together to do what the people who voted them in asked them to do, not one person making this decision. We have deaths and hospitalizations are down statewide. We're not out of the woods regarding COVID, but it is improving. So it's important that, as the governor vetoed this bill that was passed yesterday, that the House leaders and Senate leaders override this veto. Parents wanted to be with every activity of their child, and they're entitled to that. It's their children. These stadiums are big enough where people can wear masks, they can space out 6 feet apart. I was to a soccer event the other day, and you know, there's 20 people in the stands, and for the state to count the 250 limit and include the coaches and the players down in the field and the cheerleaders, that's included in the 250 count. And then if there's anybody left, they allow the seniors to have their parents come. If a child's hurt on a field, they want their parent to be in the stands. You know, and especially in the case of football, there's a risk of serious injury. Parents want to be there, and they're entitled to see every activity, whatever they choose, that child chooses, whether it's a club or sport or being in a band. That's a special time of their life, and a parent should be able to enjoy that. And there's no reason why we can't do this, especially outdoors. We're not talking about indoor sports at this point. We're talking about outside, where these stadiums are big enough where you can fit more than 250 people in. It should be up to the school district's decision on what is allowed in their stadiums. They're not going to risk people. They're not going to risk their students. They're not going to risk their parents' health. I know one township in the area here that developed a plan. They actually could fit 700 into their stadium safely, and that request was ignored. So I strongly urge Congress, the Senate and the House, to override this, and we can do so with a 2/3 majority, and that our governor would start to listen to the House and Senate instead of focusing on things like asking for legalization of adult cannabis, telling the House and Senate you need to, not you should or you may or you need to pass the $120 billion to put businesses back in operation for relief. We need a governor who will work with our House and Senate and with the business leaders and with our school districts to get things open 100% safely. And we can do that. Other states are doing it, and we can do the same. Like I said, this is anything that's going away anytime soon. We have to learn how to live with it. We can do so safely. But one person making these decisions is not what our Constitution, nor is what we're designed to be as a people.
I'm going to add a couple things as well, you know, and I'm going to go right to...
Jim, please get a microphone, because I can't hear you at all back here.
Thank you, Gretchen.
I'm going to add a couple things as well, and this is about the breakdown of our society. I want you to think back over 100 years ago or so. The government went after the mafia. For what reasons? One was gambling. The second one was drugs. What's next? Prostitution? Is the government going to get into things that are decaying our society? And when you look at some of the machines that are out there right now, and you see them throughout Unimarts and everything, these people are spending their income on gambling, and it's hurting families. You know, now they want to legalize marijuana, and whether you argue for or against it, it's you know, it's one or the other. But these are things that decay our social fabric, and I just want them to reconsider what the government is doing to raise money. how about cutting government? Let's go there first. I'm sure my colleagues have gotten many phone calls about voting and the election. I'm sure there's pressure between friends right now in arguing about who's right and who's wrong, Democratic, Republic, okay? And these are serious battles going in our nation right now. People are losing their friends, they're losing family because of this election. And, you know, if I can say one thing, stop watching the news for a while. Honestly, this is meant to divide America, okay? I know as many good Democrats. I'm a Republican. I know as many good Democrats as I know Republicans, okay? They believe in something, and so do we, okay? But it needs to stop there. To me, what I'm seeing right now is so far gone, and I'm fearful that it's just trying to destroy everything that our founding fathers created. I'm not saying that things can't change. You know, they most certainly will, but do it in a good order. You know, we're going to go out and vote. And when I saw that we changed the rules, that we now can count votes after the election, 3 days after the election, that raises a concern. And it's called Election Day for a reason. Because in America, as well as other countries in the world, one of the things that makes us strong is that we feel that we have a secure vote, period. That our elections and the people that we choose to be in there are chosen by the majority of the vote or the Electoral College, but we feel confident in that. And right now, Democrats and Republicans alike are not, for legitimate reasons, and some not. But when we start to extend the voting beyond election, what are we doing? This is wrong. We need to have a cutoff date, period. Then, you know, to me, it's all about attorneys, because I'm not sure when this will decide who the president is. And can you imagine? I mean, how many attorneys have you heard that were hired by both camps? Over 600 attorneys. They're making a mockery of our democracy, of our voting. Okay, it should not be this confusing, period. And I'm very fearful now that Ruth Ginsburg has passed, and they talk about a 4-4 court. Can you imagine not having a ninth justice? That we may not know who the President of the United States is going to be? I don't know. You know, I'm not arguing one way or another. I'm very concerned. And my last comment is about COVID. And somebody made a comment to me that was very, very true. And it was talking about the deaths from COVID. These people died that had COVID, not because of it. And it's a very powerful statement. And if you go to your coroners and you go to the experts, you will find them tell you that they had a lot of different issues. They died with having COVID, not because of it. And we need to get the story out. We need to get our children back to school. I don't know, have we seen a death in Lycoming County recently?
Just one.
just one.
Yeah.
Okay? And there again, I'm not sure of, you know, what the conditions were. But we cannot continue to live in fear. We just can't. It's going to destroy us. It's going to destroy our economy. So let's get the rest of the story out there. And our hospitalizations, the last time I looked, was at 2.
It's actually 3 today.
It's 3 today.
Yeah.
And anyone on ventilators?
None. There's
Okay.
been 1 person on a ventilator in the last 3 weeks.
Last 3 weeks. So those are the numbers. You know, forget about the positives, because so many of them are asymptomatic. Didn't even know they had it. And I can tell you this, my grandchild in Bloomsburg had COVID, and she was scared to death. And she had a runny nose, and she lost her taste, I guess. And the doctor looked at her, she was bawling. She was so afraid. The doctor says, well, what's wrong with you? You have a runny nose, and I can't taste. And that's about all that you're going to have. You know, these kids are afraid of dying. We need to stop this, okay?
So I want to talk for a minute about Shop Vac and the situation. You know, the Central Pennsylvania Workforce Development Corporation is the entity that runs CareerLink, or doesn't run, sets out contracts for CareerLink and for other resources to help people get back into employment. I sit as the commissioner representative from Lycoming County. Last week, when the news hit about Shop Vac, one of the things that CPWDC in conjunction with the Department of Labor can do is put together what's called a rapid response program. And this was done when the wood manufacturing facility was closed. And by doing that, they're able to get people back to work. Well, to do this, they need to contact the employees at Shop Vac. And I have an email, which unfortunately I saw a couple of days later. We thought Shop Vac was going to release the list. So last week I didn't say anything at the meeting. It appears that, and if I'm wrong on this, Shop Vac, my hat is off to you, but it appears that Shop Vac has not given the PA Department of Labor and Industry the contact information for those employees, and claiming that it's confidential. I think I would sufficiently speak for all 3 commissioners that we are asking Jonathan Miller and Shop Vac to release the information to the Department of Labor and Industry, because by doing that, we can get these folks, many of whom are sitting at home trying to figure out, now that their life's been turned upside down, what they're going to do to pay rent, to pay mortgages, to pay car payments, to put food on the table. And I think the decent thing for the family, the Miller family and Shop Vac to do for this community is to give the names to the PA Department of Labor and Industry. They're not going to use them in any appropriate manner, but what they can do is contact these individuals. See, the state will get the names when people apply for unemployment compensation, but time is the critical factor. The quicker you get people moving on getting another job, the higher the chances of them returning to the workforce. And the longer that they're out not working, the more difficult it is. I told you the story about the young man who went and got a job in 2 days, you know. And so part of what we can do with the rapid response, and that the state has set up, is to provide opportunities so that if we know we need someone in healthcare and someone who was at Shop Vac seems to have some background, they can move them in that direction. They can get training and healthcare subsidies and all sorts of things. So again, I would really urge them to do that. If they have not done it, if they have done it, our hats off to them. We commend them, but I have a feeling they haven't. We really need you to release that list to the state. Further, you know, CareerLink is open by appointment for our community members. because of COVID-19, but for those of you who are out of work, you can contact CareerLink. You can try to get moving on getting a job, and certainly any way we can help you, we will. But I think that's important to get that list. And no, it's critical. It's critical.
Can I add one more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, we're in the middle of the budget process, and this is going to be a tough budget. And we're instructing all our department heads to, get lean, because we have no clue as to what the state is going to be giving us. They only passed a 5-month budget, and I'd like comments back from the public. We'll do what we have to do not to raise taxes. We feel very strongly about that, but we're also going to have to sacrifice, and we may have to sacrifice services. Okay? So, unfortunately, when you rely upon that service, you're the one that says, hey, I don't want you to cut that. You can cut anything else, but I don't want you to cut that. Well, this is serious. Unlike any of the other 8 previous years, this is pretty serious issues. And we're not even sure what's going to happen with a lot of the businesses right now, whether they're going to stay opened or stay closed, and it's going to be a tough budget process.
And I want to just modify my prior statement. I don't know who's in control over there. Maybe, for all I know, maybe Jonathan Miller's family is not in control. Somebody is in control at ShopVac. Somebody has the ability to tell the HR department. And if it's the banks that are in control, then the banks, and I don't know which, I don't know enough, but I thought about this as you were making your comment. Whoever has the ability to direct the HR department needs to step up and do it. To leave a community with 400 people unemployed and then not give the tools to be able to get people back to work is just unconscionable. So whoever it is, and quite frankly, it wouldn't take a lot for us to make some telephone calls to find out who is responsible over there and who can do it. I don't really want to shame people publicly. I'd like whoever has the authority and who's ever making the decisions there to step up, release the list to the state so we can move our community forward.
Okay, public comment at this time.
Why is everybody looking at me?
You have something?
I have something.
Okay.
Comments to their comments.
Jerry, can you help her with the mic? Thank you.
I think I just, yeah.
Morning, Gretchen.
Thank you. Whoops. My comments, Mr. Moser, you're right.
Thank you.
I don't care who they vote for, just vote. In fact, I made my sign this morning before I came out to put on the back of my, don't forget to vote, your choice. And I think it's only right, and I don't think that Governor Wolf should be the only one to give the okay for anything. I think something as serious as what we're going through right now needs to be done by a majority of people. And not only that, if we have so much problem with kids, then why didn't the colleges all get together and decide these are the rules? If you use, you're out. You have parties, you're out. I mean, do something. I mean, I live right across the street from college kids. The first weekend, they had a big party at one of the houses on the porch. 25 kids. You know how many of those kids went away and had COVID? We don't know, but they don't do anything about them. But you call the police, and you call the college police. You might as well give that up because they won't answer their phone. And you call the city police, and they say, well, we'll send somebody along. Now, one night I called and I said, there's a girl screaming on one of the porches down there. She must be having a fight with a boyfriend, but she's been screaming out there all night long. Every time I shut my eyes, she's screaming. And they said, well, send an officer over. Well, you know what they did? He went right down 3rd Avenue and turned up toward 5th, and he never stopped, never looked, nothing. And she kept right on screaming. So, but I do think we have to tell the governor it needs to understand you just can't go around doing everything you want to do. It sounds like the other man upstairs, you know, and we don't need any more lies. So, but anyway, that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, Gretchen.
Gretchen.
Yes, step up to the microphone, state your name for the record, please.
Why, sir?
Thank you. And could you pull your mask down so it was your
Yes, I will, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Bill Fenderson from Linden. Good morning, Commissioners, and good morning to the people still here in the meeting. Before I start anything, before I even say anything, there's a few things that sort of bother me. I haven't come to a lot of meetings so far. I've been watching them online. And now, one of the things that I miss is there's no bullet points on the people in the audience or people who have posted stuff online in the minutes. Only certain jurisdiction information. But when something's being posted, when someone brings something to the attention of the commissioners, that should be like a bullet point. Do you understand what bullet points are?
Mm-hmm.
I used them all my time in my presentations. I did a lot of presentations. And when someone asked a question, I had to ear note that and put comments on that from my behalf. And a lot of times things get overlooked. We talk about it a lot, but we don't physically give the proper answers. But I would like to, and you do a fantastic job with the notes, no problem with that, but I'd like to see bullet points added to these minutes. It's one of the things that has to be done, and I'll tell you why it has to be done. That is comes about that when you talk about something, if you don't have it down on paper, it could come back and bite you in the ass. I'll be very frank with you on that. Been there and done that. With that being said, we have an approval on that, putting bullet points into the meetings. When we have a discussion on anything brought to the commissioners, questions or comments.
Okay, we'll discuss that amongst the three of us. And
Give us an example of.
Anything we talk about, the public-wise, may it be, and I'm just going to use certain things, okay? May it be something to do with the airport, may it be something to do with jobs. And I'll hit on that just a little bit on Rick's comment on that, because I know a little bit about that deals, some deals like that. And that way that the commissioners have something, we have something proof stating that this was discussed, this is the answer, and we can use this for further documentation.
Good
If
point.
we don't do that, it gets left alone.
Yep, I know what you're referring to,
Yeah,
Bill.
that's very good.
When Tourisville School Board does that in their minutes.
And I've done this all the time.
And I'm familiar with it. I'll discuss it with the other two.
Yep. Now,
And-
with that being said, one of the things I like to see, now we have some business people here, and my question is, I have never even seen a treasurer's report in any of the minutes pertaining to checks and balances, the amount of money coming in and money going out. And I do believe, the way I understand this is, the public has right to know the amount of money the Treasury has in balance and where it's being distributed at. And as you said, Tony, you said things are going to get tough. People have to understand where this money is being spent at and why it's being spent. So with that regard, I'd like to see a treasurer's report at least once a month, if all humanly possible. I'd like to see twice, but I know sometimes it's complicated. At least once a month, be put in the minutes. Is that possible?
Well, I don't know if you, when you say treasurer's report, maybe what you're thinking of is, we talk about the fund balance. Commissioner Masser mentioned earlier it's gonna be a tough year. Well, no, let me just
Go ahead.
finish.
Go ahead.
And maybe what we could do is put once or twice a month, the way we get a report from HR on the hiring and we get a report from Maya Toon on contracts under 10,000, we might be able to put something in the minutes that here's the fund balance. You could go to OpenGov and find
Yeah,
it.
we have it online.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's online, it's
Well,
open
listen,
up.
and I know it's online. Here's the discrepancy about this.
yeah.
Now, I've been watching these meetings online a lot. And I can tell you something, I don't see, the highest number I've ever seen was 102 people.
Pretty good.
And I don't see, mostly they're running about 20 to 30 people, sometimes 40. So the people, the public doesn't really see the numbers.
But every meeting, public meeting, we have a cash receipts requirement. They are all the bills that we're paying for the week.
But you don't see the total dollars.
No,
It's checks and balances. Tony, you're a businessman. You should know that you want how much money is in your account.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
No, Bill, let me just jump in a second. First of all, the cash requirements thing, we could actually post it online. I mean, it's,
we do that.
But
The
everybody
con-
doesn't have a computer.
They don't, that's the
oh,
problem.
no, that's true, okay, but well, let me just try to, we're trying to figure out a solution here, okay? At least I'm trying to. So, I think what you're talking about is when you go to like the meeting of the airport authority, you go to a meeting of the township, they have a treasurer's report. That's what I think Bill's talking about. He was a township supervisor.
No, I wasn't too supervisor, but I attend their meetings.
He attend their meetings, and so they have a report, and then they approve they say, will you accept the motion to accept the treasurer's report for audit? We filing for audit. Okay, so that's what you're talking about, Bill.
That's correct.
All right, so the question though is, because we're much larger, right? What? Now, just don't get misunderstanding what I'm saying. What can we do that gives people information that they can chew on, but that doesn't drown them? I mean, they can go online. One possibility might be the fund balance and also the cash spent to date to year against budget and so forth in general terms. Like I think that's what you're talking about. We've budgeted at this point in time, sort of like what happens at the Joiner meetings. We're at 88%. We're halfway through the year and we've spent half the budget.
That's correct.
Or we're halfway through the year and we've only spent 40% of the budget.
Correct.
We can try to look at something. It would be done through the fiscal department, probably, not through the treasurer.
Today, as of today, we are 50.8 roughly percent executed on the funds that have been budgeted for the year.
Yeah. And then we could also at the same time give information as to how much is in the fund balance.
But understand this, and here's why, he has a number, so we're at 50%. We're in the, ninth month? Almost going into the 10th. And so the public is sit there and say, hey, this is great. You guys are really cutting down on your expense. But only to understand that in November, we plan on doing a project that's $5 million. Okay, so you could get false reports there. What's important is that the budget that we pass, and you'll hear like RMS, and you'll hear a number of people say, a budgeted item.
Right.
Okay, that's important to us. We
Right.
want to make sure that it's a budgeted item.
Right.
If it's not a budgeted item, why?
Right.
You have to explain why.
That's
So,
correct.
Well, and
there are a few things that maybe we can
Yeah.
discuss and try to.
And
try to do
contracts come due different times of the
Yeah,
year.
there's just certain
So-
things, just a little twist on that.
Well, honestly, Bill, I think it would help us as commissioners, because I think sometimes the public, like Commissioner Massera alluded to it today, he said it's gonna be a tough year.
Right.
And it's important for the public to understand that, doing different things costs money, and we can make choices about what we do, but at the end of the day, we have to pay certain things to get certain things done. Whether it's to do 5,000 field visits by APO, you have to have a certain number of people out in the field visiting people. And if you've got X number of people on, and you can get into the philosophical discussions about why are they on probation so long and so forth, and we do get into those. But at the end of the day, you've got to still deal with the problems. But, so it could help the commissioners, the elected officials, to get the word out to the public.
Yeah, with that being said, Tony, and I agree with what you just said, and I'm just bringing this to a point where that being a secretary for 27 years, I had to account for money in a local union, had to report it monthly, my expenses, where it was going, money going to an international. So there is a lot of protocol involved. That being said, I'd like to move on for one other thing. Got two more things to go here. And unfortunately, I was on the phone yesterday with the executive secretary from the State Department, again. So, in all essence, when people say that the COBRA numbers are sort of going down, no.
I said hospitalization.
No.
deaths are going down.
I'm not, listen, I'm not
Okay.
referring to you.
All right.
I'm not referring to anyone.
Okay.
Talking about general, okay? The colleges at this time, we've got a problem with the colleges. Locally, okay, we have problems all over all the colleges. Most of them being virtual online for 2 or 3 weeks, and things like that. And the problem being is, just recently on Sunday, I know some people tried to get a test locally. There was not one test to be found, nowhere. There were no tests. So, I know they increased the testing and all that. That's another question. But in all due respect, the colleges are getting the bulk of these tests right now, so they can go. That's what's happened to our test. And one other thing, we talked about ShopBack. Interesting conversation, Tony, or excuse me, Rick. You talked about ShopBack. Well, thinking back in 2008, 2009, when Smurfit Stone Container went out of business, there was no such thing as what we're doing today. Been there, done that. So it's something new. But when you say ShopBack, you have to understand that it's just not ShopBack. It's the people who makes the boxes for the canisters. It's the people who make the nuts, the bolts, the salespeople who buy the stuff, the stewards who put the stuff on the shelf. So it's going to directly affect thousands upon thousands of people, because each one of them machines goes in a corrugated box. That's going to directly affect another industry. So this is not one particular place, it's numerous places. Just so we're understanding the impact of this whole thing. Our impact was the same way. We used to supply the corrugated boxes all over the Northeast and out through California by train car loads. But we went out of business. We had no respect for that. So think about that. We had an opportunity to get into that place and do something. We need to have jobs. We need to have the Planning Commission go out there and investigate companies to bring them to the area to put more business in here. That's what we have to do. Our population's dropping, that would bring more people into the area. And one thing before I close, I hate to say this, Tony, but you said about gambling. I'm just curious. We have a organization down there by the mall who makes these machines. Now, on respect to that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, somewhere in that area, that the Gaming Commission had Williamsport on their chart to put a mini casino in the area, which would have had the in turn to put a lot of jobs reflecting back to the area. Also tourism. More money coming to the county. Did anyone approach the county for the mini casinos?
No one's approached me.
So what happened was it got moved to Clinton County, up there behind the Nittany Mall up there, due to a representative pushing the issue. Did it help us? No. So think about that. We have to get more jobs in this area. And being a taxpayer, it's tough stuff. And all the PPE was given to the property owners out there, all the people who have property taxes, school taxes, county taxes, we paid our taxes, but we didn't get any help to do that. So think about that.
And I want to make this clear. I'm not for or against
No,
gambling.
I understand.
Right,
I'm just making
or
a
the
point.
people that are manufacturing the machines. I'm just stating that, look at where government is trying to increase revenue. These are things that, you know, they're just not good. I'm sorry, they're not good.
All I can tell you is this, Tony, be it as it may, you're not probably getting any money out of the gaming commission for rent rebates or anything to do with this stuff. But I will tell you, it's a necessity for senior citizens like Cumming County and counties surrounding the area. So with that being said, that's something to think about. It's a tough commodity. It goes both directions. I thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment this time? Okay, hearing none, we've completed our agenda for the week. We'll now have a meeting on Thursday. Our next scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, September 29th, here at the Commissioners' room. Thank you.